There is a small island, 36,000 square kilometers, 23 million people. It produces more than 90% of the world's most advanced computer chips. It sits 180 kilometers off the coast of China. And for 50 years, the United States has been quietly, systematically letting it go. This is the story of Taiwan, the island America made promises to, the island America switched off, and the island the world may soon have to fight over or surrender. To understand why Taiwan matters today, you have to go back to 1949. China had just finished a brutal civil war. On one side, Mao Zedong and the Communist Party. On the other, Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalistic government, the Republic of China. Mao won, Chiang lost. But Chiang did not disappear. He took his government, his army, his gold reserves, and he fled to an island called Taiwan. He declared that his government was still the legitimate ruler of all of China. Two governments, one claiming to be China, both refusing to recognize the other. And America? America backed Chiang, recognized Taiwan as the real China, stationed military forces there, signed a mutual defense treaty in 1954. For 25 years, Taiwan held China's seat at the United Nations. Taiwan was China, at least as far as Washington was concerned. Then everything changed. It started with a secret. In 1971, President Nixon sent his national security advisor Henry Kissinger to Beijing, quietly. No press, no announcement. Nixon had a plan, and that plan required China. He wanted to use Beijing as a counterweight against the Soviet Union. Cold War chess. Taiwan was a piece he was willing to sacrifice. In February 1972, Nixon flew to China.
We, of course, are under no illusions that 20 years of hostility between the People's Republic of China and the United States of America are going to be swept away by 1 week of talks that we will have there. We must recognize that the government of the People's Republic of China and the government of the United States have had great differences. We will have differences in the future. But what we must do is to find a way to see that we can have differences without being enemies in war.
He met Mao. They shook hands and they signed the Shanghai Communiqués, a document where the United States said for the first time that it acknowledged the Chinese position that there is only one China. Not endorsed, not recognized, acknowledged. That word was chosen very carefully, but the damage was done. Taiwan had been moved off the board. Then came Jimmy Carter. In December 1978, Carter went further, much further. He announced that the United States would formally recognize the People's Republic of China as the sole legal government of China. Diplomatic relations with Taiwan terminated. The defense treaty cancelled. American troops on Taiwan withdrawn. Taiwan's president got the news at 2 o'clock in the morning. A phone call. No warning, no negotiation. Just it's over. The US embassy in Taipei was shut down. Taiwan lost its seat at the United Nations. Dozens of countries followed America's lead and cut their own ties. In one night, Taiwan went from a recognized sovereign ally to a diplomatic ghost. But America had a guilty conscience. Congress was furious at Carter's decision. And so, in 1979, they passed the Taiwan Relations Act, a law that said we may not recognize you diplomatically, but we are not abandoning you militarily. Under this law, the United States committed to selling Taiwan weapons for self-defense, maintaining an unofficial relationship through the American Institute in Taiwan, essentially an embassy that nobody is allowed to call an embassy, and opposing with deliberately ambiguous language any attempt by China to take Taiwan by force. That word ambiguous would define everything that followed. The United States officially never said it would defend Taiwan. It just said it would be deeply concerned if China attacked. It would sell Taiwan weapons. It would maintain peace in the Pacific. This is what foreign policy scholars call strategic ambiguity, a calculated vagueness designed to deter China from attacking and prevent Taiwan from formally declaring independence. Keep everyone guessing, keep everyone cautious, keep the peace. For decades, it worked.
The government of the United States of America acknowledges the Chinese position that there is but one China and Taiwan is part of China.
Over the next decades, the United States signed 3 joint agreements with China. known as the three Communiqués, 1972, 1979, 1982. In each one, America inched further from Taiwan. By 1982, the US even agreed to limit the quantity and quality of weapons it sold to Taiwan. Think about that. America was selling weapons to an ally it refused to recognize, and then promising China it wouldn't sell too many. And there is something China doesn't like to talk about. Alongside these communiques, the United States also made 6 assurances to Taiwan. Secret promises made in 1982 that said America would not set a date to end arms sales, would not consult Beijing before selling weapons, and would not pressure Taiwan to negotiate with China. Public ambiguity, private reassurance. The US was playing both sides and both sides knew it. The most of the 20th century, Taiwan's strategic importance was about geography. It sits at the center of the first island, China. The string of islands that runs from Japan to the Philippines, forming a natural barrier around China's coast. Control Taiwan and you control China's access to the Pacific. But in the 21st century, Taiwan became something else entirely. The silicon capital of the world. One company, TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, produces more than 55% of the world's chips. And not just any chips, the most advanced chips. The ones that go into your iPhone, your AI servers, your fighter jets, your car. Taiwan produces over 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. If Taiwan fell to China tomorrow, Beijing would control the beating heart of the global technology economy. Every major power on earth would be dependent on China for the chips that run their militaries, their economies, their hospitals. That's not a trade problem. That's an existential problem. Taiwan's tech industry became what analysts call the silicon shield. The idea that the world is so dependent on Taiwanese chips that no rational actor would risk destroying the island. But shields, it turns out, can be dismantled slowly, piece by piece. Starting around 2016, Beijing changed strategy. For years, China had hoped Taiwan would gradually drift back through economic integration. Taiwanese businesses invested heavily on the mainland. Trade boomed. It seemed like proximity would dissolve the divide. Then Taiwan elected Tsai Ing-wen of the Democratic Progressive Party, the party that sees China as an existential threat, not a negotiating partner. She refused to endorse the 1992 consensus, China's framework that both sides are part of one China. Beijing suspended all official communication with Taiwan's government. China began flying military aircraft into Taiwan's air defense identification zone, hundreds of sorties per year. It held massive naval exercises surrounding the island. In 2022, after Nancy Pelosi visited Taipei, China launched its largest military exercises since the 1990s, simulating a blockade of the island. In December 2025, China launched another enormous wargame, the largest around Taiwan since 2022. Xi Jinping has made a reunification a cornerstone of his legacy. The CIA reportedly warned American tech executives in 2023 that Xi had ordered the military to be ready for an invasion of Taiwan by 2027. Ready, not certain, but ready. And then America got a new president. Again, Donald Trump looked at Taiwan and did not see an ally. He saw a transaction. Taiwan stole our chip business, he said. He accused Taiwan of not paying enough for its own defense. He called for Taiwan to spend more. He threatened tariffs on Taiwan, on China, on everyone. In his first year back in office, Trump did sell $11.1 billion in arms to Taiwan. But then he called a $14 billion weapons package a quote, negotiating chip with China. A negotiating chip with China about Taiwan. In early 2026, Taiwan's semiconductor firms committed to over $500 billion in investment in US. TSMC is building a $165 billion chip plant in Arizona. Trump called it a triumph. But analysts noticed something. The more chip production moves to American soil, the less indispensable Taiwan becomes to Washington. The silicon shield, the strategic argument that the world needs Taiwan's chips, weakens with every factory that opens in Arizona. The strategic ambiguity that protected Taiwan for 45 years is now something else entirely. It's strategic indifference, calculated, transactional, and deeply dangerous. May 14, 2026. Donald Trump landed in Beijing, the first sitting American president to visit China in years. Red carpet, honor God. State banquet at the Great Hall of the People. And right there in the middle of the room, Taiwan. Xi Jinping did not waste time. In their very first session, China's president looked Trump in the eye and warned him. If the Taiwan issue is handled improperly, the United States and China will, quote, have clashes and even conflicts. That's not diplomatic language, that's a threat. And what did Trump do? He came home without committing to the $14 billion arms package Taiwan had been waiting months for. He said he would make a determination in a fairly short period. He acknowledged that the US had a 1982 pledge, one of Reagan's 6 assurances, specifically promising not to consult China before selling weapons to Taiwan. And then he essentially brushed it off. What I'm going to do, Trump said. Say, I don't want to talk to you about it because I have an agreement wrote in 1982? No, we discussed arms sales. Think about what just happened there. A foundational promise America made to Taiwan, a red line that had held for 44 years, was dismissed in a single sentence on Air Force One. The deals Trump did announce? Boeing gets to sell 200 planes to China, potentially up to 750. Xi gets trade wins, Trump gets optics. Taiwan gets a statement from its foreign minister saying it's maintaining good communication with the American side. When Trump was asked directly what Xi most wanted to discuss, he said Taiwan was the most important thing to him. And Trump's priority? I would like the situation with the island to stay the way it is. Stay the way it is. Not defend it. Not guaranteed. Just don't change anything for now. That is a very different thing from the Mutual Defense Treaty America once had. The treaty Carter cancelled at 2 in the morning. History has a way of rhyming. So where does this leave Taiwan? Today, Taiwan has a population of 23 million who have built one of Asia's most vibrant democracies. They hold free elections. They have a free press. They run one of the most technologically sophisticated economies on earth. And formally, only 12 countries in the world recognize Taiwan as a sovereign nation. Taiwan's president, Lai Ching-te, has called China a hostile foreign force. China's president, Xi Jinping, has said reunification is inevitable. Taiwan is spending more on its own defense than ever, nearly $20 billion in 2025. It's buying weapons, training soldiers, fortifying coastlines. But China's defense budget is estimated to be 25 times larger. And the United States is still selling weapons, still flying warships through the Taiwan Strait, still maintaining the American Institute in Taiwan, that embassy nobody is allowed to call an embassy, still strategically ambiguous. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The United States built Taiwan up, recognized it, armed it, and then in the middle of the night called Taipei's president to say, we are switching sides. The word they used was acknowledgement, not recognition, just acknowledgement. For 50 years, Taiwan has lived inside that gap between acknowledgement and abandonment. And the world's most powerful democracy is hedging its bets here. The question is not if America will abandon Taiwan, rather when. Different president, different century, same island, same silence. The island waits. If you like my video, subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.